Hi, everybody. It's Beth Ienni, licensed therapist and food addiction recovery coach. And today I want to talk to you about a very startling fact, which is that food addiction is the number one cause of death, especially in the United States. Again, if you're joining me live, my name is Beth Ienni, licensed therapist and food addiction recovery coach. And I want to talk to you about something that's very, very startling. And that is that food addiction is the number one cause of death, especially in the United States. Let's talk about some facts. Okay, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, reports that as of 2017, the number one cause of death in the US is heart disease. The CDC also reports that two of the three biggest risk factors for heart disease are high blood cholesterol and high blood pressure, both dramatically influenced by diet. Other risk factors are diabetes, overweight, unhealthy diet, all directly related to food addiction. Physical inactivity is another risk factor. This, of course, is exacerbated by overweight and food-related pain and other medical conditions. It's the elephant in the room. The number one cause of death in the United States, and probably in many developed nations, is food addiction, and no one is talking about it. No one is talking about it. One person dies every 37 seconds in the United States from cardiovascular disease. I could just go on and on. $219 billion each year is lost. I could go on and on with these stats, but I don't think you actually need to know these stats. I think you probably have guessed at these stats because you can look at your own life and understand that food addiction is what is fueling death and destruction. Out of all the top 10 causes of death, you could relate them all to food addiction, some quite directly and some more indirectly, like stroke, diabetes complications, kidney problems, even injuries from all the brain fog and the lack of coordination that comes with obesity, cancers. It's overwhelming to think about it. And so you have to ask yourself, what is going on? How come food addicts, why aren't they more upset? Why isn't the whole world screaming and clamoring to find a solution? What's going on? And I talk to a lot of food addicts who are considering working with me on the phone, and I'm amazed that the worst cases of food-related health problems are often the least ready to change. And I'm thinking, what? You've already had a stroke, you've already had a heart attack, and you're not interested in getting help right now? And I try to figure out what's going on. Well, as a licensed therapist and someone who's worked with food addicts for decades, it's not that hard to figure out, but it is heartbreaking. The fact is, the human mind is capable of denying things. And there are a lot of reasons why human beings deny things. Sometimes we deny them because we're just scared to death and we can't face it. There are a lot of people who are on their deathbed and they're dying and everyone in the room knows they're dying, but the person on the deathbed doesn't really seem to want to face or admit that they're dying. And that's fairly normal. So it's just part of the human condition, I guess, that we just don't want to look at the fact that we're dying. Well, food addicts are dying. They are dying. They may not be on their deathbed yet, but they are dying. And that's why I talk about the frog in the pot. Food addicts are slowly boiling to death. My concern is by the time we realize we're boiling to death, it may be too late to jump out of the pot. So that's why I do these videos, because I'm hoping that some of you will wake up and realize that you're boiling to death. So it could be one reason is that you guys are scared. And I want to tell you, look, I get it. I get that you're scared, but there is a solution. So please hang on. Let's keep talking. Okay? There is a solution. Don't be so scared that you're going to turn your brain off and stop thinking. Okay? Another reason why food addicts seem to just be not responding to the reality with any urgency is I believe a lot of them, well, I don't believe, I know, that all food addicts are in a brain fog, and a lot of them are not aware of it. Now, when it gets bad enough, you start to realize my memory isn't as good as it used to be. And you may blame it on age. But a lot of people, until it gets really bad, where they start to really wonder, am I getting Alzheimer's or some other kind of dementia? Until it gets very pronounced, people seem to just sort of get used to it. It kind of builds up slowly. And most people are not aware of their brain fog. They are used to it, and maybe it's been coming on a long time. Maybe they've been having brain fog for most of their life. Let's face it, food addicts have usually been food addicts since they were tiny little children. So they probably don't even know that their brains don't work well. Food is very similar to alcohol and other drugs in that it does change your brain chemistry, but it is more subtle and sneaky. So we can feel like, well, I'm stone cold sober, but you're not. You're in a fog. So that's why when you say to someone who's already had a heart attack, well, aren't you concerned that you're 300 pounds? Aren't you concerned that the doctor has warned you that you're living on borrowed time? That the medicines aren't working, that the stent they put in isn't working. Aren't you worried about this? And when they act like they're not so sure they're that worried, I believe a lot of that is impairment. And so that is something that food addicts really need to watch out for. Is you have to wonder, why am I just sort of putting up with this really horrific killer? Why am I just putting up with this? Is it because I'm scared and I'm in denial because of it? Is it because I'm just in a fog and I don't realize I'm in a fog? And that's scary. Now, a lot of you, frankly, are just super depressed and hopeless. And if you've listened to me and followed me, you know that I give a very complicated explanation for that. I'll try to simplify it for you. Food is depressing your brain directly and indirectly. So let's talk about how it does that. It does it directly, just like alcohol or drugs directly change your brain, right? That's the first way. The second way is a roundabout way. Okay, so let's talk about that real quick. Once you start gaining weight, you stop wanting to do things. You avoid people because you don't like the way you look. You're less active. You're getting out less. So it tends to spiral down, doesn't it? And the less you do, the less you can do, and the worse you feel. You might get, I hate to talk about all this stuff, but you get constipated. Your body starts to slow down. You're not digesting, your metabolism slows down. You just slow down, right? And you just spiral down mentally. You say mean things to yourself every time you look in the mirror, and it just gets worse and worse and worse because you're not moving, you're not doing anything, you're not having any fun, you're not getting out in the world, you're not meeting new people because you don't like yourself, and it just spirals and spirals and spirals and spirals. Add to that, you might be developing multiple diseases, including pain. And on top of that, now maybe you're taking medications that have their own side effects. And we go down and down and down and down and down. Okay, so I might say to you, hey, how about getting into recovery today? And sometimes the answer on the other line is, oh, I don't think so. I don't think anything's going to work for me. I'm just hopeless. And of course, they have evidence, right? They failed 100 things. Well, of course they failed 100 things. None of those things dealt with food addiction, or if they were, it was unprofessional or one size fits all. And so people start to collect evidence. Well, I'm hopeless and I'm helpless. There's nothing I can do. I've already tried everything. And of course, there's a reason to be upset. Excuse me. There's a reason to be upset and depressed and feeling hopeless if you've tried literally 100 things and did your best. Of course, you start to feel hopeless and resentful that you did, pay good money and you went to the so-called expert and you followed all the rules as best you could. And it still didn't work. So after the 100th time, and I'm not exaggerating because a lot of you are in your 50s or 60s, you've easily tried 100 things. After the 100th failure, you start to think there is no hope for you. So there's that too. And then there are the people who are just accepting that it's not going to get better. I might as well enjoy my food. I might as well just accept myself. And there's a part of me that wants to say, that's probably healthier than hating yourself. I mean, gosh, if there was no solution for food addiction, wouldn't it make more sense just to accept it and be as peaceful as you can while you're dying, while you're eating yourself to death? And maybe that is the lesser of two evils. I just want to let you know that there's a third option, which is to get better. And I know, honestly, some of you have said, you know what, I would rather not get my hopes up again. I would rather just accept. Just accept that I'm overweight, just accept that I'm ill, just enjoy my food. And I would almost say that that made sense, except that the problem is you're not just necessarily going to pass in your sleep and the angels are going to start singing. My concern is you're going to be quite miserable for the end of your life. And I'm concerned that that will affect your children and your grandchildren and will completely deplete all your resources because you'll have to pay for long-term care, or they'll have to pay for that and have to visit you in a nursing facility. I don't want to sound depressing, but honestly, it's my job to wake people up out of their slumber and say, hey, I think the accepting peaceful solution makes sense to a point, but the problem is in modern society, people don't just pass. Lots of times they live a really long time with horrible pain, sometimes paralyzed from a stroke, with all kinds of diabetes complications. And I used to do this for a living, guys, so I'm going to tell you the dark side of this story, the end of the movie. My job was to go visit depressed people in nursing facilities who were blind or amputees or were paralyzed or in horrible pain and so forth, all because of the complications from food addiction. So again, dying peacefully in your sleep may sound good, but that may not happen and often doesn't. We live much longer than maybe we want to. And in fact, that is a conversation I had with many people. Why aren't I dead yet? I can't see. I can't move. I can't hear. I'm enormous. I can't move. Why am I still here? And we'd have that conversation. So yeah, you're talking to someone who sees what happens when people live in denial for years and years and years, because in the end, bad things happen. Okay? So this is not the most uplifting video unless you're actually going to use it to wake up. You know, the irony of recovery is you have to be super negative about it before you can get super positive. It's just one of the ironies of addiction recovery. I mean, maybe many of you have heard of this idea of hitting bottom. You have to hit bottom in some way before you bounce up and come back to life and start life again. And let's talk about something nice for a minute. Let's just say you could admit 100% that you're eating yourself to death. You admit it 100%, you're hurting your family, you're hurting your finances, you admit it that you're miserable and you have no plan to get better. You're just heading straight downhill and you're not doing anything to save yourself. Let's just say you can admit that you're completely out of control and you're ruining your life. Boom. Now there's hope, because now you've located yourself. Now there's hope. I hope you're getting this. Once you locate the problem, now you can actually get a real solution. If you don't locate the problem, you don't even know where a solution exists. You go to a doctor and ask for a diet pill, and that's not going to help you. You know, if you just say, oh, I have a little bit of a weight problem, you get a surgery, that's not going to help you. If you can actually locate the problem, now you can actually figure out what to do about it. And that's to treat food addiction, not to just have a weight loss program, okay? So this is good news. It's good news to face the truth. The truth will set you free, right? Let's talk about what's going to happen once you break free. You know, a lot of you right now are worried about your finances. The economy in the US especially is very scary. But I'll tell you, if you can get a new brain and a new body, which is what you get with recovery, I mean, you can literally feel 20 years younger within 2 weeks. And I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. The foods you're eating are so altering your brain and your body. You're in pain, you're hopeless, you're exhausted. You don't even realize that the food that you're eating is making you feel 20 years older than you even are. Here's the thing. We see this with the clients all the time. Within a couple weeks, they're saying, oh my gosh, what happened to the pain? I'm scared to even believe this is true. Now, of course, some people have more or less pain than others, depending on injuries and so forth. But I'm saying a lot of pain is simply caused by inflammation, guys, not just the weight. It's the actual food you're eating. So when you get into recovery, you don't have to lose all your weight to feel 20 years younger in 2 weeks, because your brain perks up, your body perks up, there's less inflammation, there's more energy, more mental focus, and think about what this can do to your bottom line. I want to give you something to live for, okay? Let's have a vision for your future. Now, the fact is, I'm in my late 50s, and I started an online business in my mid 50s. And I had no background in business and no background in computers. But because I'm in recovery as a recovered food addict, I have a clear brain and I have energy, and I was able to learn a whole new skill in my mid 50s with no background in business or technology. Okay? This is what I am suggesting to you. If you could get a vision for your life, what could you do with a new brain and a new body? What could you do with more energy, with better mood, more mental clarity? What could you do with that? What could you do with less pain, less fatigue? What would you do with that? And I hope you have an answer. If you don't, please get one. Get it. Without a vision, we perish, right? The good book says. Have a vision for your life. Have a goal. Because if I can do this, you can do this. Okay? But you need to have your brain. You need to have some energy. And you can create a whole business for yourself that is available to you. And that's just one example. A lot of you, you've been struggling with relationship problems for decades, and you're feeling very hopeless and helpless about that. Our clients are telling us that their marriages are being saved, that they finally figured out how to deal with that dysfunctional family member who's an addict or who's incredibly difficult to deal with. How to deal with the adult child. People are telling us that the job that they do have is going 10 times better. We've had realtors tell us that they made 4 times as much money in recovery than they were before, because they actually had the ability to earn more money. So, you can just do your current job better. You don't have to learn a new job necessarily, right? What about the money you'd save? What about traveling? Sure, we've got the pandemic, but that's going to pass. Where would you like to go? Who would you like to go with? What's on your bucket list? What did you used to do that you had to stop doing because you didn't feel well or you didn't like the way you look? Did you used to like to dance? Did you used to like to hike? Kayak? What do you want to do with your new brain and your new body? Put it on your fridge. Put it on your bathroom mirror and look at that every day and say, that's possible for me. And it is. For the vast majority of you, your body has still got a lot of life in it, but you can't poison it every single day, all day, and expect to feel good. It just doesn't work. So listen, if you feel that spark of hope within you, please don't ignore it. That's, I'm a spiritual person. I believe there's a reason why we have hope. It's a message. It's a message that there is life after addiction. I'm a recovered food addict. I'm living it every day. My clients are living it every day. We're seeing dramatic changes every single day. I just had a 2.5-hour coaching session on Zoom with my clients, and it was one long celebration of people who have, in a very short period of time, gotten their lives back, sharing so deeply about how satisfying it is to finally feel like themselves, sometimes for the first time in their lives, in their 50s or 60s. They're finally saying, it's my turn after taking care of everyone else for decades. It's finally your turn, if you want it to be. But you do have to step up and say, it's my turn. Sometimes you have to be a little assertive with the naysayers in your life, with people who frankly just don't understand your addiction. Sometimes you do have to step up and say, I need something for me now, before it's too late. So listen, if you're inspired, I hope you'll take action. If you connect with me and you connect with my message, I hope you'll reach out to us. We'd love to help you. We offer free calls to anyone who's interested in professional help for food addiction. You can just go to amybethcall.com. It's Amy, A-M-Y, Beth, B-E-T-H, call, C-A-L-L.com, amybethcall.com. I also will put a link to schedule a call in the comment sections on Facebook. We get on the phone with you for about an hour. We ask you what's going wrong with your food and your health right now, what your goals are. And if we can help you, we tell you what we do. And if we can't help you, we will be honest and tell you that as well. But either way, I think it will be the best hour you've ever spent getting real about your food addiction. And we look forward to helping you.